I am going to be filming another chatty get ready with me kind of video today. I'm going to make sure I'm in focus, there we go. I've got a little bit of a cold, if you can hear. It's getting better definitely now, but I still sound a little bit sniffly and my nose is really dry, and I'm sure if any of you have tried to put makeup over a dry nose, it's so disgusting. That's such a disgusting sentence, but it's really difficult because I'm blowing my nose all the time, and so there's not much point in putting makeup over my nose because it's all going to come off when I blow it all the time anyway. Yeah, I thought I would film a video today. I'm going to prime my face. I never actually usually do this, but I bought this Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water because my makeup just comes off straight away as soon as I use it. Like, honestly, within an hour my foundation's gone. So I'm going to try this out and see if this actually makes a difference. Doesn't smell very nice. It smells like medicine or something. Anyway, so I have actually been filming videos, maybe slightly less, but I've still been filming videos, but it's just been quite tough because if any of you make videos, I don't know how many of you make videos on YouTube, but actually uploading them you need really good internet, which I just do not have. So I'm going to try and go along to my boyfriend's later on, see if the uploading there is any better. If not, I'm going to have to it takes like 3 hours to actually upload the video to YouTube. And also I've had a broken Mac, so I've had to buy a new Mac, which is so expensive. I've had to like take money out of my savings, but it's just something not only for YouTube, which I obviously use it for all the time because I use iMovie to edit, but also just generally I use my laptop all day every day. It's just a massive essential for me. So it is worth it, but it's just so expensive. You just kind of grudge having to pay that much money for something, but obviously it's worth it because I use it all the time. I need to go and get a mirror. So the main thing I kind of want to talk about today is contraception. Not contraception as a whole, because I think that's it's a topic that among women is very difficult, because some women like me are just quite lucky and get along with contraception quite well. So when I was 16 I got the implant in my arm, and I never really had massive issues with it. I had difficulties with periods a little bit, in that I would have my period constantly for quite a long time, but or I'd have it very on and off and it'd be very strange, but it didn't really bother me that much. I never had like, I know some girls that have had like excruciating pain and have been like so hormonal and just had a really hard time with contraception, whereas for me my periods were a bit funny, but that was about it. So I've always, since I've started the implant when I was 16, I've never really thought of not having the implant. I got it taken out and put back in when I was like, when I was about 19. Yeah, in the big scheme of things, it's worked out quite well for me, and I'm very grateful for that because so many women I know have had a really tough time with implants and coils and pills and all that kind of stuff, and I know some women that just have to kind of stay away from hormone contraception because it just messes up their body so much that it's just not worth it. But at the same time, obviously having safe sex is so important. I'm not ready to have a child. I would love to have children one day, but I am definitely not ready right now. In the mental and financial state I'm in, and just generally do not want a baby right now. But yeah, I know a lot of women have difficulties around contraception, which I haven't really experienced, so yeah, it must be quite tough going through that. Anyway, so I have been in a bit of a difficult situation with contraception in a different way. Because of my anxiety, I find it very hard, one, to go to the doctors because I have emetophobia, which means I have a phobia of sick. So going somewhere where people go when they're sick is quite a difficult thing for me to do. So going to doctors in general is really difficult. And also, my implant ran out in March, so that was a really long time ago. It feels really weird talking about this kind of thing on the internet, but it's such an important thing to talk about. We shouldn't just feel worried and that we can't speak about these things just because they're uncomfortable or taboo. Whenever I say taboo, I feel really Scottish. I feel like taboo is such a Scottish, I don't know, I just feel Scottish. Yeah, I like to talk about everything on this channel, as you guys know, and sex is a part of most people's lives in some way or another, and so it's an important thing to talk about. The difficult thing for me, it's already gone, what's the point? The tough thing for me is that I have gone through many ups and downs with my anxiety. Sometimes it is not possible, sometimes I'm not able to go to my doctor's surgery. My doctor's surgery is maybe like a 10-minute drive, and sometimes that's not possible. On certain days and at certain times, that's just not something I'm able to do. I've been lucky enough recently, and I've been working really hard to get my anxiety to a point where I can go to the doctors, and so I did manage to go yesterday and get the implant again after 5 months of not having any form of contraception in my body, which was obviously quite scary. I managed to go to the doctors and get it done. Something really frustrating for me is I live right next door to a doctor's, but the doctor's is so full that I can't go in. And I get that because obviously I live in a town where there's actually more and more people coming to live here, and so obviously the doctors are full, and I'm lucky to be able to even get into a doctor's around about where I live because they're just all so full. I was just thinking a lot yesterday about the fact that if this was me like 3 years ago needing to get contraception, I wouldn't have been able to go to the doctors and lie down for 20 minutes while she poked and prodded and put jags in my body. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would have been way too anxiety ridden. And there's so many girls that I know from Instagram and from watching my videos and stuff that would never be able to go to the doctors and do that. I just feel like women, no matter who you are and what circumstances you're in, everyone is entitled to contraception. And I know there's lots of women in other countries who would love to have the services that we have in Britain, and I'm very lucky to live in Scotland and to be able to get free contraception and free healthcare and all that kind of stuff, but it's not accessible for everybody, and I feel like the NHS like to think they're accessible for everyone, but they're not. They don't take into consideration people that can't leave their homes, and I don't know, people might view it as a luxury to be able to get all these kinds of things, and so women should just like, I feel like a lot of people feel like women should just grin and bear it and just like go to the doctors, and even if it's really horrific, just go and do it. But people don't take into consideration the women that can't leave their homes, whether it's due to mental health, whether it's due to whatever. I know I wouldn't have been able to do that a wee while ago, and so I'm just thinking of those women who aren't able to do that. Obviously there are other forms of contraception that these women can use that are more accessible to them and stuff like that, but I just feel like all women should have a choice in what they use to protect themselves against pregnancy. And if a woman who's unable to leave her home wants to be able to have safe, protected sex, they should be able to do that. And I don't exactly know what I'm suggesting. Obviously our NHS is under so much strain that they can't be sending doctors out to give women the implant and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a topic that needs to be discussed anyway. However, I did manage to go to the doctors yesterday and do all of this stuff, and I think one of the hardest parts about this whole thing is making an appointment. Whether it's to get the implant, get the coil, or whether it's just to go to the doctors and get medication, whatever it is, I think making those appointments is always quite tricky, because you're making an appointment, when you have anxiety, you're making an appointment to go and see a doctor on it, and you don't know how you're going to be on that day. There's some days where I could go to the doctor, no bother, and not feel anxious about it and stuff like that. And there's some days where going to the doctors is a completely impossible task and I'm feeling really sick and I'm feeling really awful. I find that's the hardest part about these kinds of things, is making that appointment, because you're making that appointment on a day where you don't know how you're going to feel. You could wake up that day and feel like, absolutely not, there's no way I can go to the doctors and do that kind of stuff. But luckily I managed to go yesterday and everything was absolutely fine. Something that I think helps when you have anxiety is to know what to expect. So I think if you were getting the implant for the first time, one of the scariest parts would be not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing what to expect. Quickly talking through it, you go in and you speak to a doctor. At my surgery, it's doctors that do it, it's not the nurses. Don't know if it's the same every surgery. Speak to the doctor about the implant in general, about how effective it is, about how it could affect your hormones, all that kind of stuff. It's just a very brief conversation that maybe lasts a couple of seconds. They've got a sheet in front of them where they basically need to inform you about certain things. Then you go up onto the bed, and which I have always found is really good, you go up onto the bed and you lie down. So you can kind of close your eyes, pretend it's not happening. Then they'll give you a couple of injections just to numb the area they're going to be working with. The jags are the worst part because obviously they're a little bit sore. Nothing too painful. Definitely less painful than childbirth, which is what I was kind of saying to myself. Once they've done that, they will, for me, they took out the old implant, which was the most tricky part because I've gone a little bit overdue on my implant. It was a bit more tricky to find because it obviously kind of molds into the skin. Doesn't mold into the skin, kind of just like tissue obviously grows around it and all that kind of stuff, and muscle. So it's a little bit tricky to find sometimes, but you don't feel any pain. You kind of feel somebody prodding around, but that's it. Then they will put in the new implant, and for me they made a different incision, I think, because there's 2 scars at the moment. They made a different incision. This whole time, by the way, maybe took about 15 minutes, but the whole time I had my eyes closed and I was just like completely chilling, and the doctor was kind of speaking to me. You can ask the doctor, can you speak to me while this is happening to take my mind off things? You can ask somebody else to come in, or you can just say, can I just like go on my phone, can I just sit in silence just to be with my own thoughts, whatever it is. But I just kind of closed my eyes and I kept making loads of jokes because that's what I do when I'm really in a nervous situation. It was completely over and done with within 15 minutes, I'd say. And then they give you a little card that says when you're next due to get your implant renewed, which is like 3 years away. So you don't need to think about any kind of contraception or anything like that for 3 years. If it all works out and you have a good experience with the implant, which I know some people don't, but I've always had. It's always been fine for me. They will wrap you up in a bandage that you need to keep on for 24 hours. I've just taken mine off. I slept with it on overnight. I've just taken it off and it's pretty gross. Look away now if you're a bit squeamish, but this is what it looks like now. So it is starting to bruise quite badly. I think this is where they took the old one out, maybe? That's where they put the new one in. No, I don't really know. But yeah, it looks pretty gross. And it is starting to bruise quite badly, but there's also this paper thing that they put on it just to make sure it doesn't bleed. And I've got a bit of a heat rash there, which is nothing really too bad, but I definitely say in the long run it's definitely worth it for me, and it's something that you should try if you are looking for something, because honestly it's not as bad as you think. The thought of these things are always worse than the reality of them. If you're wondering what eyeshadow I'm wearing the Morphe palette. It's the Morphe 350M. It's really cheap, it's only like £20 and you get so many colours. £20 or something for all of that. I thought it was quite good. Anyway, eyeliner time. I'm gonna not speak while I do my eyeliner. Eyeliner done. I always find that when I'm filming a video about makeup, or while I'm doing my makeup always turns out rubbish because I'm not actually focusing on the makeup. That's just the way it is. I use just a Too Faced bronzer, which I've had this since like either last Christmas or maybe even the Christmas before, and maybe that's gross, maybe I should get a new one, but I don't really see the point if it's still working. I'm sitting next to a big Lush order that I made the other day. Well, it's only a few bath bombs, but I I kind of have to save up to get these bath bombs and stuff like that because they are quite expensive and they're not exactly a necessity. It's more of a luxury thing, I guess. But that box just smells like autumn to me because I ordered the Lord of Misrule bath bomb, which is my favourite bath bomb. I absolutely love it. And it just smells like autumn. That is the autumn smell for me. I also, a couple of weeks ago, ordered this Too Faced Melted Matte lipstick in the shade Cool Girl, which is such a nice shade. If there's anything I've discussed in this video, or just anything in general that you would like me to talk about on this channel, then please write down below in the comments. I am getting really into like a filming mode at the moment. Although there's work being done across the flat across from me, I've kind of just been like, well, I don't really care because this is something that I do, and if they have a problem with me talking about contraception really loudly in my flat, well then, they're not people I want to know. So yeah, if you have any ideas or if you have anything you want me to talk about or make a video about, then just write down below and I will try my best. So that's my makeup pretty much done. Oh, does it look like I've just fallen in mud? A wee bit. A wee bit. Oh well. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any comments, then please leave them down below. I would like to read them, what your thoughts are on this and what your experiences are with contraception, that kind of thing. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!